invoke the doctor and then write him a letter. I want to ask him a question, if he knew what was going on. The other day I was passing, I hear people complaining. He is the man with the answer, but he quite over yonder. They say, stay in the Balizé. Stay in the Balizé.
This is Caribbean Vibes.
Stay in the Balizé. And they biting hard. Stay in the Balizé. I'm sorry for Trinidad. In the country, man, they worse than Mappy feet. When they're making the racket, they just dress up in nice jacket. Some big fat mackerel, drink out the oil in the oil well. I want to invoke the doctor and then write him a letter. I want to ask him a question, if he knew what was going on. The other day I was passing, I hear people complaining. He is the man with the answer, but he quite over yonder. They say, stay in the Balizé. Stay in the Balizé.
This is Caribbean Vibes.
Stay in the Balizé. And they biting hard. Stay in the Balizé. I'm sorry for Trinidad. In the country, man, they worse than Mappy feet. When they're making the racket, they just dress up in nice jacket. Some big fat mackerel, drink out the oil in the oil well.
Begging the master, give me a walk with Peter. If I come sinners coming, with them I go be dealing. Because the things that they do me, I want to fix them personally. Peter wait, Peter look Cecil Rhodes by the gate. Funny. Peter look the Englishman, we send Cecil Rhodes to Africa land. Funny. Peter take Drake, take Raleigh, but leave Victoria for me.
Yes, indeed, of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry. Yes, it is the Corridor Transformation, your host, LENNOX Smith. And, of course, I really enjoyed this morning's ground report. But, of course, this is the Corridor Transformation. Remember to share as we continue, of course, to make strides in leaps and in bounds, as they say. So, of course, enjoy. Don't forget, share. Like. And, of course, subscribe as well as we seek more advance and more advantage as far as the attraction or attractiveness to the Corridor Transformation.
Smith by the gate. Funny. Peter, I don't want you to make fuss. Remember, I want Christopher Columbus. Funny. Peter, look, the Englishwoman who on South Africa refused to put sanctions. Peter, I just don't care what you do, but Reagan going in the fire too. Funny. Why? This is my time for blazing. This is your time for running. Running.
Yes, indeed. Of course, a pleasant good night once again to all and sundry. I'm looking for a video here to start off with tonight's program because I'm going to tell you, this Dr. Rowley, I mean, the man is such a despicable individual. He is so deceptive and so slimy, and of course, could only be described as the gutter of Trinidad and Tobago, frankly, because I was bombarded, frankly, by members of the Trinidad and Tobago diaspora with their ears and eyes focused on Trinidad and Tobago because, after all, they consider to be in Uncle Sam's country, they are aliens, and that this is a foreign land and the place of their birth, the mecca of their existence, or the cradle from which they would have emerged and then migrated to the whatever part of the world, but certainly in this case, the United States. And I want you to keep your eyes on the Apollo. They promise that once Rowley put in his appearance, they will, of course, film it. So look right here on the corridor to get that information. Yes, because, of course, as you know, Labor Day in Brooklyn, and then the whole weekend, and then, of course, a major cast of iconic Calypsonians and a rich mix of soca, youth, and, of course, seniors have descended for a 3-night stint at the Apollo. And tonight is the final night. I emphasize, tonight is the final night. And I want to make the assertion, it is speculative now, but certainly it will be confirmatory as soon as the information reaches back. Do not be surprised if Rowley put in an appearance in tonight's show. And therefore, as we have observed, confirming what was then an assertion, confirming, some may call it a conspiracy theory, confirming that not one damn thing was wrong with Rowley wanting to leave Trinidad and Tobago in the first instance on the day of our independence. And it makes it, if what we believe will happen tonight, where Rowley will put in an appearance, he can't hide. He might want to go incognito. That is the dangerous man he is. In other words, he may want to go in disguise. Incognito or not, he must have a certain level of security. And that should attract, of course, members of the diaspora who themselves are very conscious of the poison, of the decadence, of the destruction, of the collapse, of the total and absolute mismanagement, of the corruption, of the nepotism, of the cronyism, of the blatant and unadulterated inability. Some prefer to use the term charlatanism. Another nice word for quacks in high office. I say so from the perspective that if it is that Rowley puts in an appearance at the Apollo tonight, it means, therefore, that the man was prepared to call sickness on himself in order to leave us here in Trinidad, having, of course, created all the havoc, all the economic, social, mental tsunamis since 2015, and going to enjoy himself. Going to enjoy himself, and is prepared to call sickness on himself. Well, I had to join Andy on the ground report and say that Somebody should slur his tongue. Somebody should deaden his tongue, make it numb. Because you can't tell me, if he only makes an appearance at the Apollo tonight to enjoy himself, as of course the hard-working soca artists and the Calypsonians would have, of course, be performing there, promoting in their own right to Trinidad and Tobago. And he, before he sit his backside here in Trinidad, and was prepared, of course, as I said, to leave Trinidad before independence. You see, because when we observe him taking a toast and a drink, I believe at one of the celebratory events, whether it be at fire service or the police service or elsewhere, he was seen knocking glass and very jolly. A sick man firstly would not have been there. Would not have been there. And as some people find it very strange, not us, of course, here on the corridor transformation, that is boasting of the local medical system, health system, would have caused him to be embarrassed to go in a next country and squat there in their medical or health facility, having told you sycophants, yes, I know that only embarrassed. Today, of course, we went to tongue in more ways than one. Poor fella, a fella calling himself Mr. Port of Spain and always boasting that he had the facts, is the greatest dunderhead that I have ever known. You know, there is a saying, and well known in the teaching profession, that if you do not know, and you do not know that you do not know, maybe there is some salvaging that empty crucible, that empty bowl, that empty calabash, that empty mortar could well be salvaged. But if you know or act as though you do not know, or you do not know, and know that you do not know, but continue to play the ass, lack of knowledge, and you have people laughing at you because you're pretending that you know, the result can only be making a mockery and tomfoolery of such an individual. Well, Mr. Port of Spain clearly is the quintessential exemplification of such an individual. That man could talk nonsense. That man could talk shit. Yes, you have to use the term for fellas like them. And by and large, he regurgitates obsolete things that people who he pretends or believe that he's representing, and I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, he probably believe that he's representing somebody high up in the PNM. But of course, they give him a parking technician job. Look, let me be more euphemistic. I'm being euphemistic here. We're using a dice. Let me be more euphemistic. The man is a blasted car park attendant. Car park attendant, people. But he comes on a program like the Ground Report, and I have no doubt I've invited him here on the Corridor Transformation as well, to make his contribution. Only he alone know he talking facts. So here are two facts today that he said that he disclosed today. One was that the UNC and opposition no longer speaks about the 300, or should I say the 3 billion that was missing, or that has been declared missing and not accounted for by the Auditor General. And he says that because they are not talking about it, that they are attempting, of course, to soft soak, to whitewash, and to, of course, try to remain silent so that the people can forget, because, in other words, it was a non-issue. And I had to remind him that the matter is sub judice, that it is before the court. Both parties, the government side and the Auditor General, Anand Ramlogan is her lawyer, and they are in court. And therefore matter is obvious. But the people to benefit from silence is the government. I'm sure that the opposition will love to talk on the matter, because it is the government that has to defend. It's the government that created that situation. It was the government that plunged Trinidad and Tobago into this, what I consider to be inability to account for $3 billion. And of course, even when there was some reconciliation, $2 billion was still missing. And of course, $1 billion as far as expenditure is concerned. I'm talking the $2 billion were income that they can't find, or they couldn't account for, or they can't account for. But of course, there is a billion that also cannot be accounted for in terms of expenditure. In terms of expenditure. So I had to tell him that, because he believes that he could talk that kind of hogwash, disseminate that misinformation, disinformation. And I want to say, as I've said before, a fellow who does not know and does not know he does not know, you can give him a break. But a fellow who does not know and knows that he does not know, as is the case with this fella called Port Spain, he needs not only a tongue lashing, he needs some coquille broom in his tail. Yes, to swell up his skin and so on. I'm not preaching violence. I'm just saying that that is what my mother would say, to beat some sense into him. And he is somewhat of an octogenarian, meaning that around 80 years thereabout. I doubt he is in the septo category. But even that, experience would have told you to do your research, particularly when you are claiming that you know the facts. Maybe it's like his leader, Rowley. He say facts is spelled F-A-X. F-A-X. Not F-A-C-T. Not fact. Yes, indeed. So, I would be waiting with bated breath for the communications from the United States about this pleasure trip. Or put another way, this medical trip turned pleasure trip of Keith Christopher Rowley. And there can be no escaping in terms of his intent, because he was supposed to leave here before the celebrations, before independence. That is a classic case of dereliction of duty and responsibility. I don't know, but in my view, I think that is treasonous, particularly for a prime minister, to try to hoodwink the population, want to have a jaunt of his own, go on a jaunt of his own, and use, of course, state resources so to do, because the flight is not paid for out of his pocket. And all of the engagements that he may wish to engage in there would be out of the state, yours and my hard-earned taxpayers' money. And then he ends up, of course, in Apollo. I wonder what he would say. He would say, let me tell you, that he would have completed his checkups and therefore spend a little downtime. I'm sure that is where he's coming. But for confirmation, which was sent to me by, of course, our diaspora in Brooklyn in particular, let us look at Machel Montano being interviewed by the networks in, of course, Brooklyn and the United States about this particular affair. Dr. Rowley, you could run, but you can't hide. Dr. Rowley, you could run, but you can't hide. Dr. Rowley, you could run, but you can't hide.
That and a guy came from New York.
Joining us
Dr. Rowley, you could run, but you can't hide.
So thanks so much for
Wow.
being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. We're bringing
Let's
the
go
party
straight to the line
you.
before, of course,
Bring the boat, too.
we engage.
So you've been crowned the king of soca.
A pleasant good night.
Started
A pleasant good night.
this whole thing, this career of yours at
Pleasant
seven.
good night.
Lennox,
7 years
So
old.
just a few
I'm
years
there,
ago.
I'm there.
Yeah,
Yes, we're fighting up, Yes.
Well, I still have a gear called there. So wait till I hear today's Labor Day over here. They have some shooting and thing on the parkway. So wait till you're saying this. So Rowley like he going up in the Apollo today. As you're saying.
Well, it looks as though he got to enjoy himself, but told us that he's going for medical attention.
Yeah, well, that look like it's a big lie. Well, maybe he going up in the parkway and all too. You should view them film. Maybe he going to jump up a little bit over there. If that's the case, if he going to Apollo, who is to say he may be going up in the parkway for the Labor Day parade? Anyway, thank you so much, Mr. Lennox. You have yourself a good night, sir, and good night to all the listeners.
Thank you very much. We monitoring.
Okay, bye.
We are monitoring, my friend. All right.
Yep, just trying to be in the choir, trying to be a good boy, and they put me into calypso music. Went to a national competition, won that, and a guy came from New York and said, would you like to open for the Mighty Sparrow at Madison Square Garden?
Wow.
So within 2 years, I was at Madison Square Garden in 1984, performing in front of thousands of people, and never looked back.
That is insane. What's the difference between soca and calypso music?
Ah, that's a great question. You know, soca is the child of calypso.
Okay.
Calypso music started as social commentary, and
so that is Machel Montano heading that cast, so to speak, or part of the organizing of that show at the Apollo, and of course he's there being interviewed by one of the networks in the United States, in Brooklyn in particular. So let's hear some of the
soca, but we are both the same. I have a song this year called Soca is Calypso,
that would
and
be
Calypso is Soca.
Performing
So you start your career at 7.
inclusive
You've already
tonight.
sold out MSG, the Barclays Center, and
Yes,
now
sir.
you are headlining at the Apollo.
Yes, sir.
What has this journey been like?
I mean, it's been amazing. So many blessings. I just got the keys to the city from the mayor in New York.
Awesome.
So that
Congratulations.
thank you so much. But the Apollo opportunity, when that phone call came in, everything's happening in Brooklyn. Labor Day on the parade. I've been there many years. But this Harlem iconic venue was something that was on my bucket list. And I had to take the opportunity. It's always been getting better. Every year you reach for higher heights. It's the importance of...
So you'll understand, Rowley believes that he probably cannot miss that. But of course, the lines are open. The lines are open, 337-6940. Don't forget, of course, to share. And of course, I would love to hear your own interpretation, if that, or your own comments as to whether or not Rowley was prepared to sacrifice as the executive head of the country, Prime Minister, forsake our national holiday, the 62nd birthday of the country, to go to a foreign land. And while, of course, it's a big thing, or was a big thing for that particular land, that country, or that part of the country, Labor Day, etc., carnival type celebrations, is it right for Rowley to have even contemplated that? Was it one for him to say no, because my country needs me now? My country needs me now. And of course, all of the turmoil and all of the violence and all of the murders and all of the unraveling of our economic fortunes and circumstance, and the level of mismanagement at a time when school was supposed to be reopened, and his Minister of Education embroiled in the greatest piece of stupidity that could ever beset a minister, while of course walking through and entering the auditorium of the St. George's College, an iconic educational facility in this country in more ways than one, and seeing that it was still a construction site, and yet still had a speech that suggests that she was unaware. I mean, it's just amazing. A pleasant good night. Welcome. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
Yes, Machel Sparrow Calypso was never, they never sang in Madison Square Garden. The only Calypso that ever sang in Madison Square Garden
Sparrow.
is, no.
Okay.
Harry Belafonte.
All right. Okay.
Sparrow never sang in Madison Square Garden. So, Machel never sang in Madison Square Garden. They sang in the Paramount Theater at the side of Madison Square Garden.
Oh, I see. Okay. I get it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that correction. So, the people are really listening all over, and I trust that is one of the diasporas that have corrected us. So, it was not directly in Madison, but of course, sang adjacent to, according to this caller. But of course, but while that is good information, what we want to know tonight is whether or not Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, Prime Minister of this country, contemporary, whether he visited or participated in, of course, these activities there, because it has connotations for Trinidad in terms of his priorities, in terms of his consideration of Trinidad and Tobago. It has connotation for his oath of office. It has connotation for his character and personality. It has connotations for his inability to rationalize and apply common sense. And in this case, common sense will tell him that he cannot go there because a more significant occasion of a nationalistic nature is occurring in Trinidad that requires, of course, his presence. Without it, of course, you have to have a very solid and potent and cogent argument. And since he did not go because apparently somebody spoke some sense into him, but we know that the intention was to leave before Independence Day. Yes, Saturday gone. Saturday weekend gone, yes. Clearly, to join, of course, the celebrations in Brooklyn. That is the assumption that we are making. We could be wrong. I trust that he has the argument to deflect us from so thinking, but having regard to his own, what I consider to be irrational and erratic behavior, and his callous and reckless disposition in government, and his inability to be sane in terms of his not just execution, but in terms of his orations and uttering and articulating certain policies and, of course, situational events surrounding him. It's another cog and another argument for him voluntarily jettisoning out of the office of Prime Minister, or when he has no choice, and that will come soon constitutionally, reluctant as he may be, would not want to call election but has to call it. And we are looking, of course, at all of the elements of undermining and seeking an unfair advantage, inclusive of what he will do with respect, of course, to international independent observers. We are watching. And there is, of course, a cadre of citizens waiting, not hoping, waiting for not only the certainty of an elections, but for any variable or any variations or any indication or inclination of his power-mongering tendency and wanting, of course, to stay in office unmeritoriously. Let's go to the lines. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Pleasant good night. Welcome
Hello.
to the corridor. Good night.
Yes, good night, sir.
Good night.
I'm trying to figure out, I saw your number on my WhatsApp page, so I don't know if you're someone I would have met. I'm not sure. I'm just, because I noticed a lot of strange number on this phone, and I'm just trying to, get in touch with the people, because
All right.
I don't know if I know you.
All right. Well, my name is LENNOX Smith. I run a live program on YouTube and Facebook every night from 8 o'clock, and this is part of it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So
and
I am
on
one
the
of
ground
your,
report.
every morning listener. Mr. Smith,
Ground
how are
report.
you?
I'm fine. And yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm coming along. I wonder if you know who you're talking to.
No, I
You
catch your
used to
voice.
you would have spoken to me on several occasions when I was going through this period of depression and I was suicidal.
Oh, I see.
And you all had sent Andy,
Right.
the pit bull, with a little hamper for me to lose my only child.
Okay.
But here, this, I'm glad to hear in your voice. You have time? I could just ask you one question.
Yes, go ahead, by all means.
Yeah. So, Mr. Smith, is not something I could talk loud because it's a secret. I have a sister-in-law living just about 10 footsteps from my home.
Mhm.
And
I want to tell you
videos-
that you are on international, everybody in the world here, so I don't know
Yeah.
if you want to be constrained by that.
No.
Okay, right,
No,
go ahead.
no.
Go ahead.
So I'll have to call you back.
Well, if you want, yes, if you want to talk to me privately, you have to call me after, let's say, 9 o'clock. We should, it's the official
Well-
time to finish, but we may
well,
well go
just-
beyond.
Okay, Mr. Smith, I'll do that.
Yes.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes,
yeah,
right,
bye-bye.
yeah, no problem. Yeah, so it's a good thing I interjected. Otherwise, she would have given a secret that would have no longer be a secret once you had the corridor transformation or on the ground report for that matter. Yes, so people, we continue to take your calls. Don't forget 337-6940, 337-6940. But yes, indeed, let's continue with, of course, Machel, as he, of course, promotes the event that meets its climax tonight at the Apollo Theatre in in Brooklyn, and of course, they're saying is a major event for, of course, artists. Dr. Rowley, clearly, we are making the assertion that he wanted to leave Trinidad on the occasion of our 62nd anniversary of independence, claiming that he's going for a medical, but clearly, since he reneged on that, since he postponed it and was knocking glass first and foremost, was seen in public functions where a sick person would not normally attend. They had to be mad, they had to be suicidal. And then, of course, the mere fact that he wanted to leave on that occasion to go elsewhere. And then, of course, he has eventually left, leaving, of course, Stuart Young in charge. That in itself is generating speculation and concern as to what has happened with Imbert, because, of course, he, Rowley, said and castigated Kamala Prasad Bisesa for, of course, giving several persons a stint at the office of Prime Minister in her absence when she was Prime Minister. Remember, of course, Warner got a stint, Vanilla Toppin got a stint, simply because she was from Tobago, and Kamala thought, well, she should get a feel and add it, of course, to her resume as well. After all, if people like Al-Rari could get silk, if people like Al-Rari could get silk, well, I suppose Kamala Prasad Bisesa was what I consider to be prophetic when she gave these people stint. I think former head of the OWTU, I think Errol McLeod got a stint as well, if I am not mistaken, and I think I might have missed one or two persons, but you can inform us, tell us who are the others that I may have omitted or may have not, or may have inadvertently mentioned as having gotten a stint when in fact it was not so. But that being as it may, let's continue with, of course, the promotion by Machel Montano in Brooklyn of that iconic event in recognition of our local artists, both old, young, and, of course, in between.
The culture of our music, the role that Harlem played, and that Apollo Theater is like no other. It's small, it's cute, but it's iconic. And I really felt like my journey is always pushing me for greater things if I keep looking on the horizon.
Yeah.
And this weekend is going to be special. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday at the Apollo. I'm really, really honored and excited.
You know, and your New York fans are like no other.
This is like, there's no Machel Montano without New York. I've been coming to Queens, Brooklyn, Manhattan, you name it, and they've been supporting us. All the West Indian people, we are like a united team. It's Haitian, Grenadian, Barbadian, St. Lucian, Vincentian, Trinidad and Tobago. And for my fortunate life is that I'm loved in all of these islands. I always think of being a Caribbean person because I think, you know, united we stand, divided we fall.
You know, you mentioned getting that key from Mayor Adams. Was that a surprise? Did you know it was coming?
So that is of course Machel Montano in New York talking to journalists, being interviewed.
For such a long time, and
he was given the keys, I think, to one of the cities there.
Joy, bringing content to people this weekend. When you see us in the Apollo, you can come in there and feel like you're in the islands. You're gonna have fun. You're gonna wave your flag. You're gonna see people dancing. I don't think we'll sit. So I just feel like these honors are a reflection of the work put in. I try to make people happy.
Yeah.
I love my West Indian people. We just won gold medals for St. Lucia and Dominica, and we celebrate that together. Last night we were at the Brooklyn Museum, and we were at the King's Theater for the Caribbean Music Awards. Wyclef, Machel, Allison Hines. It's like a big family, you know, so I feel honored to receive an award that reflects somebody who's preaching Caribbean unity through music.
And you're really kind of making soca more mainstream, aren't you?
That's my goal. Wake up every morning, take soca music to the corners of the globe, because soca music is a joyful music. It's not something depressed, you know. We might have rent to pay. We might have work on Tuesday after Labor Day. But when we come to party, it's all hands in the sky.
Love it.
You know, this is Saturday, Sunday night at the Apollo. Come out and just experience it. Dare yourself.
Well, your DJ's here this morning.
Come on, hard hitting Harry.
That's right.
We hitting them hard.
Yeah.
He has his flag.
Got to ask you too. I mean, the parade's going to be on Monday. Are you going to be out there on Monday too, or?
Well, you know, when you reach Machel Montano status, it's kind of hard
Yeah,
to
I'm
be
sure.
out there.
Yeah. Of course.
Listen, everybody wants a picture. The life we live right now is cell phones, and I go out there and I do it, but I got work on Monday night. Monday night is actually really the most important night to me in the Apollo, because
I think, of course, you would have gotten the gist of it as to why the major reason why Dr. Rowley is now in the United States under the guise under the pretext of getting a medical checkup. That being as it may, but that brings me to other issues as far as what I consider to be the creative sector and the question of course, intellectual property. It brings all of that into focus. Because you see, the need for diversification of the economy is critical. And if I only sense that Dr. Rowley went there to get a feel as to how you could diversify the economy by way, of course, of our artists and the spreading of the Trinidad and Tobago created homegrown indigenous culture, and of course packaging it in a way so as to export it. But the artists themselves had that responsibility over many years of the PNM in existence, so it could not be that. Dr. Rowley cannot think that far when coming to the overall interests of Trinidad and Tobago. For his personal interests and his selected few, yes, they are millionaires overnight, and we know how they got that, which will be the subject of investigations, and of course the possibility of real possibility of silver bracelets and silver bracelets, and of course blue lights in the fullness of time. But I want to say that when Kamla Persad Bissessa and the UNC were in government, you see, the fella from Port of Spain attempted, of course, to sully the industry, the creativity, the delivery capacity, and the developmental thrust of the UNC, and how they think different from that of the PNM. While PNM, of course, is myopic, if they do not, from what we have seen, think things through, they act by VAPs and hope that something will happen. The UNC is different. But before we make those distinctions, let's go straight to the lines. A pleasant good night, welcome.
Pleasant good night, Mr. Lennox, and pleasant good night to the right-thinking citizens of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, my friend.
Mr. Lennox, I was listening to a program today on Iowa George Station, right?
Yes.
And they showed we a documentary on Dr. Eric Williams straight up to when he died and Chambers take over. Mr. Lennox, the story that I want to say this way, the PNM narrative on Dr. Eric Williams to the people, I want to make it categorically clear. It's a lie. The lie and brainwash the people. Because Dr. Eric Williams, based on the documentary I didn't see the radio host and them talking. They show us a documentary. And the documentary based on, it had a time, it had a time that the ONR and all them, they had a no vote campaign when nobody didn't vote.
Yes,
And
that is
Dr. Eric Williams and
1971
the
elections, yes. 1971
win,
election, yeah.
the win outright.
Yes.
And Dr. Eric Williams went and changed the constitution, and this is the constitution we live in by now.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have no opposition.
Yeah.
So the constitution that Dr. Eric Williams wrote or write was just to suit the PNM. It was a PNM narrative, and that's the same thing today. And then she come and he asked to be out. He want to step down, and the people them tell him no. But it's not that, no. He wanted to go with the bag of money because they don't leave the church empty based on what I see. So when Chambers get in there, Chambers didn't have a clue to know. In the just the other day we had billions of dollars US at the time. That billions of dollars could have always called for trillions of dollars because it was US in TT. And that time the money had value. Right?
Yes.
I want to say with me.
Yeah, no, I'm following you very, very, very meticulously, yes.
And they find Eric Williams was only getting them back pay. And then they come now and Chambers can't do the same because Chambers meet an empty treasury. And you know I break down all of this to tell you? This is the same thing that history repeating itself. It's just not that Dr. Eric Williams now is a Rowley, that nincompoop. The thief and all the money, just like how Dr. Eric Williams thief all the money. And you know, right after the program done, a man call and say, don't interfere with here, Eric Williams. So you don't want to know the truth while you're alive. You want to go on dead, living a lie by. So I just bring that to your attention, what I gather today, to bring on my program, the Corridors of Transformation, this excellent, high-thinking, high-momentum program run by Mr. LENNOX. They can't beat you at all. So I just let me bring it to your attention with what I saw today, and I never see that nowhere else. They never put it in the schools. So I just let me bring that to you, Mr. LENNOX. You have a blessed one, and may the Lord continue to bless you on your program.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And of course, and as usual, excellent contribution as per usual. Yes, indeed. Well, anybody who would have studied the PNM, as I have, over the years, would have been familiar with all of what they call a part of which you would have recently, let's say, gleaned of, be aware of. But certainly, by the time Chamber took over the government, that would have been around 1984. The country was literally bankrupt, had 2 months of import. You see, I'm glad that he brought it up because you see, we could make the comparison, and I agree, as I said, wholly and solely, and there's a pattern of behavior. And firstly, as a basis, I want to say that Rowley is the worst incarnation of Eric Williams. And I'm saying so because he is prepared to even disrespect Eric Williams. That's to tell you how he believes that he is better than, that he is more superior to, and that in contemporary 21st century Trinidad and Tobago, he could generate the revisionist concept and change somehow history. Why am I saying so? Eric Williams must have been turning in his grave when, of course, Rowley came disconnected, incongruent, not consistent with what that convention was all about at Napa, and claimed that he wanted to, of course, remove the 3 ships under the emblem that Eric Williams put there. Let's not waste time. Eric Williams put there, a member of the party, You see, if a different party had put that there, then you would have had a difficulty when Rowley would have made the statement to remove those ships from the emblem. But it is the founding father of the party that put that there. What does that tell you? It tells me how disrespectful this man is, and how narcissistic he is, and how self-serving and self-centered he is, that he's prepared, of course, to throw Eric Williams' legacy, history in the dustbin for his personal aggrandizement. And don't tell me I know what I'm talking about, and that the pattern of behavior is that is what I consider to be an aberration. No, it is not. It is not. When Rowley realized that an investigation would have embroiled him and therefore his administration, as far as the fake oil matter is concerned, he closed down Petrotrin. He engages in this phantasmagorical contrivance that you can't believe that one man could think that nasty and that evil. And you may want to ask me, well, what other example, Lennox Smith, you could advance to show that that is the nature of the man? Well, there are many. But let me go to this one. You will shock yourself off your seat. The fact that the Americans and all of the right-thinking Latin American countries that would be members of the OAS saw the direction in which Rowley was going and his administration, and his preference for Maduro, a man who has, of course, violated the most basic of human rights, and, of course, displace and steal from the very poor in Venezuela. And he remained silent on it. And then the Delcy Rodriguez matter came up. And then, of course, that shipment of gasoline that ended up in Venezuela connected to, of course, Paria. Understand that? What he did the most phantasmagorical measure again by opening up the whole country to any and every Venezuelan that was here. That was to appease the Americans and them because of his political survivability and instinct that was triggered because then he knew that the Americans would have come down on him. So he decided that and kind of keep them at bay. A pleasant good night. Welcome. I think I have intruded enough in that caller's space. A pleasant good night.
That's
Welcome.
all right, Lennox.
Yes.
That's okay. Good
Okay.
night to you, Lennox.
Yes, good night to
and
you.
to everybody, because I
Yes.
was listening to what you were saying.
Yes, yes,
I was
yes.
listening to you.
Yes, yes,
Lennox,
yes.
did
Hey.
I hear right? I just got the tail end of that thing with Machel Montano.
Yes.
Rowdy was at some concert with him.
No, I am speculating. There's no confirmation, but I'm saying that having regard to that, because some diaspora in New York sent me some information. In fact, that video is part of it, saying that it may be that Rowley's urgency to come to go abroad to take and use a health issue. I mean, that man real wicked.
Yes,
if he ends up in that concert,
it's over 2 years.
yeah. If he ends up in that
2 years
concert,
he didn't have a medical checkup.
yeah. If he ends up in that concert, that man wicked to the core, boy. He calling sickness on himself too. Wow.
He don't care.
Yes,
He
yes,
don't
yes.
care.
Yes.
Right? And I tell you, he's a rotten gut lying lunatic.
Yes.
The man
man.
is a lying lunatic.
Yes.
And all that, Lennox, all of that, people seeing what Rowley doing to this country,
Yes.
and to the people of this country. Look just what Donna Cox telling the pensioners and them.
Yeah.
Right? And yet still, you have Gary Griffith. Sometimes you see Lennox, I just have to wonder, is it wickedness they're doing this for? Now you have Gary Griffith put out a notice that so far he's contesting St. Joseph, Maruga, Sando West, Point Appear, La Hogueta Telparo, Tadapuna, Toko Sandy Grande, Mayaro, Chaguanas East, and Barataria. Now, UNC of these people hate these people of this country because all they are going to do, Lennox, is to take away vote because you know UNC people love to do that. They love to do that. Whereas PNM will remain faithful. They will run to somebody else. And then they will sit down and cuss Kamala and say Kamala caused them to lose. Why is Gary Griffith so damn wicked? Why is he doing that for? They not see what Rowley do to this country? And this is our last chance to get rid of that man? To get him out of office? I don't know what Gary Griffith feel that he's doing. He's damn wicked to the people of this country. And nobody shouldn't give him a vote. Nobody shouldn't give him. I am appealing and I'm calling on the people of this country. Right? Don't take God out of all the thoughts and vote for that man. Because all he is going to do is to take away votes from the UNC. PNM votes don't change. Lennox, you know that? But not UNC people. I don't know what it is that's getting to these people's mind because, you know, he still feel that the 150,000 COP voters still sitting down there waiting for him, you know. He really living a delusional life.
And that is only because UNC didn't contest those seats. That is why he got that. I mean, they're real delusionary. But go ahead, finish. I want to make a comment on that because I want.
But Lennox, the next thing is,
yes,
he's seeing Kamala and them in blue and yellow outfits.
Yes.
Right away, he's saying that they try to confuse the electorate to vote for the UNC and not the NTA. And I thought that man was intelligent. I thought he was intelligent. And he used to tell me, as Commissioner of Police, every time we have a cuss out on my inbox, that I have no intelligence. And today I sounded more intelligent than he.
Yeah.
Those are the colors of the union. The union is supporting the UNC, and the UNC dressed like them to come out in support of them.
And they were there long before the NTA could ever dream to form, to be embryonic. I have to tell you how long ago. Yes.
Because Lennox, you saw, I'm sure you picked it up, or you're on one of the chats, where you saw with the union meeting yesterday to kick off the election campaign.
Yes.
Right? So I don't know what
I'm
is
not
wrong with
surprised.
Gary. Now, that will be the next thing he will talk about. Oh, they dress it like them to confuse the electorate. I want to tell him, the electorate not stupid, you know. We will show you how intelligent that we are. We'll show you. Because this is a matter of life and death now, Lennox. It didn't have no playing around again. Lennox, and before I
go ahead.
I won't stay long because I know you want. I hope that lady sister-in-law wasn't listening to the program, you know.
Who's sister-in-law?
The one who wanted to tell you the secret on the radio. On the program. I hope her sister.
Yeah, I had to, because I thought she was joking when she said that.
Yeah.
But then I said, nah, but it's so serious. Let me just, out of abundance of caution, tell her that she's talking to the whole world.
And we have a running joke on the chat. We just hope the sister-in-law wasn't listening. Anyway, Lennox, you take care. Have a good night.
Yes. Thank you very much. As usual, of course, that's our external correspondence stations fixed to, of course, the corridor transformation. But of course, the first part of her presentation gave me some concern. I want to say that because, of course, she was in a fit of anger as to the announcement, the pronouncement of Gary Griffith and this NTA entity, and so. But I think she quickly redeemed herself, in my view. when she said that not a damn vote for them, not a damn seat for them. You see, because while she was speaking there, a person like myself, all I was contemplating, all I was focusing, all I was ideating upon, all what I was mulling upon was that it simply means we have more work to do. If it is that he wants to commit suicide, by all means, that is a voluntary, that's it's not spontaneous, but certainly is a voluntary position. A person choose to commit suicide. So if it is that he wants to commit suicide, then we have a duty and a responsibility not only to intensify. So as she was speaking there, I started to think, well, listen, let me have about 2 programs during the day as well, because if it is that he's so damn stupid and believing that somehow he could intimidate by making that move or making those announcements. I've heard many cock like that crow and end up by Kentucky. Let's go to the lines. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
Yeah, Mr. Smith, good night. Prisgalan, yeah.
Hey, Prisgalan, how are you going?
I just wanted to say, because I heard the program this morning on the ground report, a little piece, you know what I mean?
Right.
I just wanted to say, boy, if it is Dr. Rowley going and go in people's stronghold, and do we gotta do, you gotta call the bluff, you gotta go in his stronghold and them, you check?
Yes.
And raise up them handsness and them, and let them know what's going on, because people know what's going on same way too, you know, Mr. Smith.
That's right.
People just, you know, a boy still had the fright that if he talk and say something, he walk on the line, thing on the line, you know how it is, Mr. Smith.
Yes,
yes. We come from a certain culture.
Yes. I'm familiar with the Lavantil subculture or subterranean culture.
Yeah. Where we fear them a kind of way that if we do see or do anything against them, we walk in line, they go find out who we vote and all them kind of thing. You know, we build up the fear in we head now. I just wanted to say that you gotta go in them fellas strong.
That's right.
All these move all them places, all they're supposed to be in these move.
Fullness of time. This program is there right now. This program, you talking, you are there right now inside of it. You see, they never catered for the ability of ordinary people like you and I to have the hearing or be in the presence of the population who they try to hoodwink and brainwash and, of course, try to pervert over the years. Yeah.
So I just saying, you know what I mean?
Yes.
People, they just get the ID card and thing ready normal and ready to vote. They go let Dr. Rowley come with all this kind of thing and who is NT and all them NT and them. I wish them fellas could have come up in the lab until show all your face if you vote your salt. You had to come up in the hardest set of place and them and fight it. You check, but Electoral listening.
Yes, man. And that's a young man from Prisgalan about business. Incidentally, let me go straight to the line, the handheld. I hope that the person is still there. Professor, good night. Are you still there? Sorry about that. But, you know, some people. All right, let's go and see what's happening. Pleasant good. All right, let me just take this call. All right, Pleasant good night. Welcome.
Hey, LENNOX.
Hey.
You hear me good?
Yeah, loud and clear, my friend.
Alright, first thing is 1981.
Yeah.
Graham died in 1981.
81, yes.
Yeah, Chambers became the Prime Minister.
Right.
Now, before that, the job was offered to Kamal Mohammed.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, the rest of the cabinet say they don't want no coolie Prime Minister. We get the Guardian from them, you go see the bold face, and all of them threatened to resign. And the Stark said that she had no choice but to appoint Chambers.
Right.
Right? So, all what we talking all the time, you see where the thing is?
Yes.
They don't want an Indian Prime Minister.
Yeah.
And the Stark said that he said they don't want to put it by, and he had no choice. All them was going to resign.
But that's a PNM construct. That is a PNM issue. Right? But they cannot, as we have seen, extend that to the rest of the population. The population has rejected that in way back in just after Electoral died, and Chambers had to demit office. I'm talking about the 1986 elections, and then of course in 1995 when Pandey became, of course, the prime minister, and then in 2000 again, and then of course in 2000 and 10. Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, they talk that among themselves.
Yes.
So, Ellis Clark, he had no choice. But as you say, his people otherwise after that,
Yes.
them could want what they want. Is what the people say. Chambers now are still on it all the time. Chambers wasn't going along with that crap. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And they went out of their way. They help out in the air.
Yes.
They went out of their way to destroy Chambers.
Yeah.
But Chambers ain't going in for no rich thing. If you come in crap any day, then I can talk to Josh. He was one of the nicest fellas you could meet.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
He will go come early by high low days at Austin.
Yes.
Buy newspaper, sell on the can, you read it.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't Mr. Chambers, they don't want to come and come in on your room. In other words, they never take advantage of your position.
Right.
And this is why when he was prime minister, and he walking with nobody got.
Yeah, well, I mean, when he became a private citizen, he literally lived as a recluse. He was a hermit, and he said he didn't want no part of the people and the very party that made him who he ended up being.
But you know, there was wicked, you know. Remember when you come and win the election with
Mm.
See what kind of thing about the man, eh?
Yes.
Oh, we had a blonde and all this kind of thing. And my wife was working in the bank and all this. That fella really no good, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And there's something that you raised, and of course, the one or two other callers in terms of the history of the PNM, and I'm glad that you raised that, because I mean, part of it was not as clear as it is now to me, and I'm going to treat with it as soon as you hang up here.
That's why I bring it for you tonight.
Yes. Thanks very much.
Understand?
Yes.
You can understand fully what's going on in the country.
Yes.
Right?
Thank you very, very, very much for that edification.
One thing before
Go ahead.
One thing before
Mm-hmm.
Some pastor calling for Venezuelan to be the police force.
Yes. So I think a Catholic or Anglican priest, yeah.
So what are you trying to say? Trinidad women in the police force?
Well, I think he was directing his focus on the language. They can't speak the language, so therefore, if you recruit Venezuelan, I don't know why he say women. Well, if you're saying that, then you have to say men too. But he say women to help with the language barrier to assist the police. Yeah.
All of you know that is not a police.
All right. Yes. So we leave that for another time. I don't want to lose my trend of thought.
Go ahead.
Okay then. Thanks very much. Professor, good night. Welcome. Professor, good night. Good night.
Good night. LENNOX Apache.
Who's Apache? Yes, man. How are you going?
I am alive and I'm too blessed to be stressed.
Yes.
The last gentleman who was talking there about the 1981
death of the prime minister too.
Right.
The founding father of the PNM.
Well, LENNOX, you know where I used to work, right?
Yes.
Let me tell you something. In 1981 election, me and 11 undercover agents, police officers, was sent to Tobago.
Mm-hmm.
And we went undercover, because every time there's general election, they send a contingent of men from guard and emergency in Tobago to control riot and all them kind of things.
I see.
Facts I'm talking about.
Okay.
So in 1981 election, they sent 12 of us undercover in Tobago. The party of 12 were led by one Sergeant Moore.
Okay.
From Tobago. Very nice sergeant. God bless him. Very, very nice gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
You know why they sent out there for? They claim, PNM claim, that A&R Robertson was, remember at that time it was was under the party they called DAC.
Yes, DAC, yes. And Robertson was there.
Right.
Yeah, there.
PNM PNM claimed that DAC was bringing in arms and ammunition in Palatuve.
Oh, I see.
Yep. How I know that? Because I and a SRP driver they called Joe Field from Tobago and the next batch of mine, I wouldn't call him. We went to patrol down in Palatuve.
Okay.
We were given night vision goggles to Mako boat that was allegedly bringing in arms and ammunition. So you see how PNM will Mako on their own too?
Yes.
Because Robinson eventually became the prime minister and president and all kind of whatever have you and things.
Yes.
Let me go back to next year now, from before 81. In 79, again, I was mandated and detailed from where I used to work. I ain't gonna tell you which part. You know where I used to work, but I ain't gonna call the section.
Okay.
I was detailed to go up on that North Coast Road and Mako on Carl Hudson Phillip.
Wow.
Carl Hudson Phillip have one beautiful beach house there.
Right.
And also to Mako, this is crazy, eh? And also to Mako, the Governor General at the time, Sir Solomon Hochoy. Do you believe these things? Do you really believe these things, boy?
Well, it appears that it's deja vu because, of course, that has occurred with this government. Continues to happen here. The SSA fiasco, for example.
Right now, yeah.
Yes. So,
you understand?
Yeah.
Look at next thing again. Look, very few men or very few police officers in Trinidad and Tobago could claim about this. And I spent 8 days on that northern range from the foothills of Heights of Aripo, doing that exercise way over to Kachipa. Kachipa is on one of those little cove on the northern coast.
Okay.
The only way you can get to Kachipa is to hike it through the mountain or go around on the north coast with boat.
All right, okay.
Again, PNM was a legend that the Cubans were bringing in guns and ammunition.
I see.
8 days I spent out there, and they only had one. Well, I was the only police officer on that one because, we have the powers of arrest.
Yes.
And I was there with 11 soldiers from the TTR, and those gentlemen really, really look out for me and comfort me on that 8 days tour duty.
Yeah, I could imagine how treacherous it was.
Yeah, when I came back from that tour duty, that 8 days I spent in the bush, very few policemen can talk about that. When I came back there, I went back to Camp Komoto because that is where we had started
the base, yes.
Right, from Camp Komoto.
Yes.
There was a lieutenant by the name of Pierre. When I came back after that 8 days, he called me in the office. He said, I want to see Officer so-and-so. I've said, okay, fine. I will detail to go in the office and everything. Now one put me to sit down, that lieutenant, God bless him again. And he said, listen, I'm going to send a commendation to your officers and them. What a fantastic job you did. I said, thank you very much, sir. Do you know what you ever hear about this term they call pole deer? You know what is that pole deer?
Cold beer?
Pole deer. Pole deer.
C-O-L-D? C-O-L-D? Cold?
P-O-L-D-I-E-R.
Oh, pole. No.
You know what that acronym means?
No.
Well, even Gary Griffith and Miss Santa Cruz bring up Gary Griffith. I spoke to Gary Griffith a little while ago. And I asked Gary Griffith, I said, sir, do you know what is a pole there? He said, no, I never heard the term. I said, okay, fine. I said, but ain't you a captain in the TTR? He said, yeah. And I said, ain't you were a commissioner of police? So which means you was police and you were a soldier. The acronym POLIA means half police, half soldier.
Okay, POLIA. All right, that's it. POLIA.
I'll never forget that. That
I hear you.
He tell me, he says, sir, he said, officer, today I christen you as a POLIA. And never forget that. It is on my personal file that I got that recommendation. Unfortunately, the old police headquarters get burned down and some of my files were burnt up in that. And that is how I have no kind of recourse or record to get back them files.
Right.
But it just goes to show you, the nasty, narcissistic, sociopathic ways that some PNM, not all, let me get this straight. Not all PNM members are bad. Let me get this straight.
Yeah.
Serious. I have good PNM friends. Trust me. I have very personal PNM friends. But the majority of them have to get off that slave plantation mentality. And I don't mean it to be racist. I will tell you why. What they do is that they just give you enough to eat so they could and educate you so they could control you.
Can control, yeah.
Today, we have a lot of Afro trainees, young guys who are brilliant, educated fellas who distinct different. Going back now to the guy that they recently bringing out to run Wassa. Okay, no problem. I'll bring in somebody. No problem. My other question I go ask you, Lennox, is this.
He's from Barbados, Barbadian.
You want to tell me, or PNM, do you want to tell me that there isn't one good educated Afro trainee who could be the Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago? I don't want to believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they bring in a small line, which is Amor. Well, if you look at it, Amor, Amor in Spanish is love,
Yes, Amor, yes, yeah.
They have a tendency to love
Muy,
one another.
muy amor, yeah.
Because they see Paris and Senegal and they'll hug up one another.
Yeah. In public.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it is public knowledge.
Yeah.
You understand? They love this kind of thing. And next thing again, you want to tell me they don't have an educated Afro training to be the Minister of Finance? I don't want to believe that. We have lots and lots of educated Afro Indo trainee to run the country. And one thing I will say before I leave here is this. Remember exactly what I was saying, Sinanan, Teran Dial Singh, I'll give you a joke, but Teran Dial Singh, Faris, and a few of them, Avi Singh or Avinash Singh, who that run.
Avinash Singh, who is in the Ministry of Agriculture.
Kaka Goat House in Tobago now.
Yeah.
None of them, and this is a message to all Afro Trini PNM who will vote for them. None of these guys is Afro Trini, but they hold the most important. Look at the young two. They hold the most important position in the PNM party. Dr. Rowley allegedly gone to get seek about medical attention. Okay, so which means Mount Open good enough, right?
That's right.
But this clown we have, Teran Dial Singh, who happened to be my classmate from Kira Presbyterian School. He's the most, well, I can't, out of due respect for the public airwaves, I wouldn't say what I say about him.
I hear you, my friend.
And you know something? He really is a left foot, right foot fella, I go tell you why. When we used to play cricket and football behind Kira Presbyterian School, it have a little savannah in the back. And anybody kick a football to him, he just stop the football with his hand and he just study which foot to kick the football with. I'm serious.
I hear you.
That is the kind of clown Terran Dial Singh is. And before I leave you again, I will leave you with this one. Anytime I see Terran Dial Singh on a platform, police go have to lock me up, I would let them have it.
Yes, indeed. I hear you, my friend. All right, thank you very much, of course.
That's my classmate.
Yes.
I would let them have it. Police or special branch go have to lock me up, but I go tell you why. Every public meeting in Trinidad and Tobago does have special branch men. It does. It does have special branch men.
Right.
Anyway, good night to you, Lennox. All be safe. And Miss Santa Cruz, God blessing to you and the rest of the folks. Have a good one, gentlemen.
Yes,
Bye.
man. Yes, man. Yes, man. Much talk about osculation or to osculate. It means a kiss. And of course, we're hearing that. But the point I have gathered, people, since I want to say prior to today, I had no notion of it. But now, having interacted with all of you on the subject, formed an opinion which I want to share. But of course, let's go to the lines first. A pleasant good night. A pleasant good night. Pleasant good night.
New York.
Yes.
New York, New York.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, New York. Yes.
Breaking news, breaking news. Listen to this.
Tell me.
Today, a pretty important story coming out of Florida when we learned that the Venezuelan president, the U.S. government, had seized a luxury jet that was used by the Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro, that officials say was actually illegally purchased through a shell company and then smuggled out of the United States. This is in violations of several sanctions and export control laws. We were able to hear there with an update from those leaders now talking about the seize and why it occurred. I want to go ahead and listen into that now here on Live Now.
Oh.
Salisbury, Special Agent in charge for Homeland Security Investigations, Miami, Florida.
So tell us what happened. What do we see behind you here?
So today we've seized Venezuelan-owned aircraft predominantly used by Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in violation of U.S. sanctions and other matters that we're looking at into the aircraft.
What does that mean?
So today we seized the aircraft in violation of U.S. sanctions against Venezuela by the United States government.
Are you able to explain kind of what the sanctions were?
So it's the ongoing existing sanctions that OFAC has levied against Venezuela for years now.
Can you explain OFAC?
OFAC is the Office of Financial Asset Control. So they designate certain host countries who are sanctioned, not allowed to have U.S. business, U.S. parts, or U.S. origin parts, stuff like that. So Venezuela has been heavily sanctioned by the U.S. government.
How did this happen? So from what I understand, the plane was in the Dominican Republic?
Yes. So HSI, working with our partners at the Department of Commerce, Bureau of Industry and Security, and officials in the Dominican Republic, have worked to seize this plane in violation of U.S. sanctions and, again, other criminal matters that we're looking at with this aircraft.
How did that happen? I mean, did agents go down there and board the plane and take off, or how did?
So, yeah, HSI has a global footprint. We have an office in the Dominican Republic. We work side by side all over the world with officials, including officials in the DR. So, yeah, HSI will use its global footprint to enforce its criminal priorities all over the world.
Did this happen that you got wind that, hey, his plane is coming to the Dominican Republic? That's a place where we can see?
Yeah, so again, HSI Miami's got long-standing investigations in the Maduro regime going back years. We've seized over two.
Start that one again. Start that one again.
Ask me that question again, sir.
I forgot what the question was.
Did we know about it? How did we know about it?
Did you know that someone was coming in with the plane and that you'd be there to just be able to grab it?
So HSI Miami has long-standing investigations into the Maduro regime. We've disrupted the flow of over $2 billion and indicted over 30 members of the Maduro regime, associates, and facilitators. So we are constantly looking at the corrupt practices and illegal activities of the Maduro regime.
What message does this put out there in the world?
It says that HSI and its partners have the global reach to impact anyone, including. Sorry, ask me that again.
What message does this send out there?
It says that HSI Miami, HSI on the whole, and its partners have the expertise, the global reach, and the partnerships to impact anyone, including heads of state who think they're untouchable.
What was this plane used for? Kind of talk about where it's been, what it's been used for.
Yeah, so this plane was predominantly utilized by Nicolas Maduro on numerous state visits. It's traveled to numerous countries on state visits with Nicolas Maduro. It's been utilized for a lot of official business for the Venezuelan government.
And given the current climate right now with Venezuela, what is the message that you're sending to the Venezuelan government?
So again, that the United States, and particularly HSI and its partners, will continue to investigate the corrupt practices of any regime anywhere in the world, including Venezuela.
Anything on the horizon that's coming up regarding Nicolas Maduro and Venezuela?
So again, our investigations are broad and they're ongoing, and we've had substantial investigations. Today is just one more success, and we have lots more pending.
Have you heard from the Venezuelan government since this happened?
We have not.
Are you expecting to?
I don't expect HSI Miami to, but there will be. So the plane has been seized. It will move into forfeiture proceedings and will allow for that kind of coordination and communication.
Going into forfeiture proceedings, does that mean you'd be able to sell it and use that money for something else? Or
so again, the plane's been seized, it'll move into forfeiture, and if it's officially forfeiture, then yes, then it would be looked to possibly be liquidated and sold.
Then that money could be used for investigations for.
It would, yeah. The money would be going into the governmental forfeiture funds.
Anything else to add?
Wow. Breaking news and true. Breaking news in real. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, of course, for that, what I consider to be intervention of significance, development in, associated with Venezuela, because in Venezuela, of course, the protest continues, as you would know. I'm sure that you are monitoring, and that's why you were able to bring that to us, even though that occurred from the American side and the sanctioning side. But immediately while that was happening, I was wondering whether or not is either the same type or the same plane that landed here with Delcy Rodriguez during COVID. You know, yes, and whether or not Trinidad and Tobago is under the radar of the United States for accommodating that. Yeah.
That's the same plane.
Yes.
That's the same jet. That's the same jet.
Same jet? Wow, well, yes, well,
Same jet,
Trinidad and
same
Tobago
jet.
is under the United States radar then, if that is the case.
So when Rowley telling you all down there that everything all right with oil and this and everything is not like that.
Obviously, and everything he says, people not taking it with a pinch of salt, not a spoon of salt. It's a truckload of salt. But people are taking whatever he says these days, and he knows it. So he wants to run out to when it is independence. He wants to keep the date in his pocket as close as possible, and hoping that he will survive he and his regime to, of course, announce the date of the elections. But we are long suffering, and we are very patient, and we're waiting with bated breath for the day. And then, of course, he will deal a blow, certainly with result in blue lights and silver bracelets. The same silver bracelets and blue lights he like to talk about for others. Well, of course, he will see in others that which is in him now.
Okay, in and out.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Of course, that's a call from the United States, giving us a bulletin here, breaking news that, of course, presidential plane was seized by the Americans as part and parcel of their sanctions. They said it was ill-gotten. It was badly, in fact, it was ill-gotten in the sense that it it was mired in the breach of sanctions, and therefore they have seized it, and it will be eventually disposed of when, of course, forfeiture hearings are instituted by the process that the United States will normally adopt in order, of course, to liquidate such an asset. I know that Maduro probably is fuming there. He is vexed and irritated, and nobody could help him, not even his allies, whether in BRICS, if he want to join it, or the Chinese, the Russians, the Iranians, or the North Koreans, or anybody else who, of course, what I consider to be persona non grata institutions or governments or countries, pariah states, in other words. That being as it may, I was making the point earlier. Thank you very much once again. We cannot, of course, overemphasize how grateful we are for that piece of news, because that will make news tomorrow, I'm sure, on the ground report. And of course, but you heard it first here on the corridor transformation. That being as it may, the point I was able, of course, to sort of become much more clear upon, become much more transparent, become much more lucid on, is it appears that the question of racism really started within the bosom of the PNM. Because, and of course, I am not going to stop here based on the information that was just given to me, but I am going to go to the archives. Yes, there's a national archive, because you wouldn't get it on social media, because those incidents occurred prior to the advent of social media. It doesn't mean to say that it may not be there, but the likelihood that it will not be there is real. But I'm going to do a search, of course. I'm going to Google it as well. But if it is not there, then I will have to go to the archives and spend a couple hours there to to see. I think it's still on St. Vincent Street. So old newspapers and so on, gazettes and so on, that would be that would represent the news of the day. We already have a time frame. We're talking about 1981, and therefore there would have been some kind of turmoil, some kind of tremor, some kind of shaking in the PNM to determine who should become the leader. Of course, in the case of the present leadership, that came as a consequence of the opportunistic nature and the parasite it turned out to be of and the maneuvering of a former Prime Minister Patrick Manning, because of course it was a 33-3 scenario, so pretty much the leadership, the genuine leadership of the party was decimated and was disconnected from the party, and what transpired as a consequence was that Manning manipulated the other two that were left to manage the affairs of the PNM in the parliament. Are talking about Donovan McDavidson and of course Maurice Machel. We remember that, and of course Wise of Manning's position was very tenuous, meaning that Robinson felt even though there was a strong request for a recount, Manning's seat, San Fernando East, was not subjected to a recount because Robinson felt that they would have decimated the PNM sufficiently. Obviously, that was not the case. And what emerged was a set of conmen and criminals, Manning included. And of course, it has now culminated in the quintessential or the most, what I consider to be devastatingly and of course existential threat to Trinidad and Tobago, are talking about the belligerence and the bellicose language that are used by the present Prime Minister, believing that he's above the law, that the law does not apply to him, and that he can engage, of course, in misbehavior in public office, corruptly share the resources of the country, dispossess the already dispossessed, and pauperize even the poor further, while of course he dismantles the middle class. And of course now we are in a state where we are eating the bread that the devil need. He only being of course the devil personified, manifested in contemporary times. So to get back where I started in terms of the race baiting, clearly it had to be from within the PNM, because if it is, my research would take me to confirm what the caller would have said, that Chambers's accession to the prime ministerial position and leadership of the PNM was as a consequence of a situation where the majority of the MPs at the time and probably cabinet ministers at the same time objected to Kamaluddin Mohammed being who should have been the natural heir, the natural, should I say, replacement, the natural supplanter of Eric William, now that he would have died. That is a significant development. So we know where the genesis of this race baiting is, but also it shows that Indians within the PNM, if that turns out to be true, and I admonish them to go ahead and do your research as well, because I'm going to do mine, that only have real belly, only can eat a crapo raw. Yeah. To know that is how this race baiting emerged, that an Indian cannot, even though the deserving, and Kamaluddin would have had the credentials of a founding member of the party, alongside with Eric William and so on. That's why he could have done no wrong. Errol Mahabir, Cutty Joseph, who is still alive. No, Cuthbert Joseph, he has passed away. But over in Padmore, I think is a wrong. I think he might have come a little later. But the fact is, the matter is that it would have been these people who would have naturally succeeded in taking and continuing the existence as a political party in Trinidad and Tobago if they had survived the 1986 general elections, but they didn't. They didn't. But it is significant that the party was still intact because 1986 didn't reach yet. It was 1981 when Eric William died, and they didn't want an Indian to be the head of the party. And that legacy has come down to today and has transferred itself, has metamorphosized itself, changed itself, has mutated to PNM, propaganda, political machinery to only hold power. To only hold power. And I was making the point when, of course, Ms. Santa Cruz made her interjection. And I was about to, of course, commend her for the latter part of her presentation, having redeemed herself from the beginning. When she said that somehow, suggesting that somehow Gary Griffith and the NTA may have some kind of impact on the outcome of the 2025 ostensibly general elections. No way. All the shenanigans and all of the maneuverings tells me that the ground report, corridor transformation, and all of the activists, including, of course, Ms. Santa Cruz and others, need to sharpen their chops, be laser focused, multitask, get creative, and let the population know that the death knell of Gary Griffith and the NTA as political entities has arrived. That's all. No way must we allow them, as they perceive, to not win a damn seat by themselves, but believe that they can, of course, stop, stymied, infringe, put hurdles in the way of the UNC and Kamala Prasad Bisesa. No way. None of us could afford to allow that to happen. And in case, because I think she overlooked the elements, the factors that caused Gary Griffith to believe that he has 100 and something thousand people out there. As reflected, of course, in the results of the local government elections held last August 10th, last year. No. He only could have gotten that number, even though Rowley was upset about it and miscalculated. A journalist, I think, in the presence of Rowley, that caused him, of course, to make another faux pas and irated and, of course, embarrassed and really and truly got the recriminations of the Guyanese when he said, well, listen, if Gary Griffith get all of it is Guyanese dollars, and of course, Jagan, the vice president, was upset that Rowley was making a mockery of their money. And then, of course, he went on to certain things, but that will be a different story. The point I'm making is that Gary Griffith's so-called 100,000 support was as a consequence of the fact that, let me repeat slowly. Firstly, let me say that is a fake number. It does not exist. You must say, as far as the NTA support is concerned, consequential of the August 10th last year general elections, no, it is artificial. Understand that. The only how it could have been genuine, pristine, and unpolluted is if in those seats that caused the NTA to get cumulatively that number of votes that he is attempting, if the information is correct, to claim that he has that support was only because of the accommodation with the UNC people. In other words, the UNC did not contest those seats, and therefore, by and large, it would have been UNC votes. UNC votes cumulatively. I'm not saying that he didn't get the straggling, maybe 10, 20, 100 or so. Don't allow him to, of course, generate a kind of a statistical delusion. The only show he could prove, as what it appears, that is the road that he's going now, to go independently, and therefore it does not take away the ability of the UNC to contest those very seats that he will be contesting. And let's see where Bali grow. Let's see it. So I want to disabuse any notion. And we could go as far as to say that Gary Griffith would have been dishonest if he believed that somehow that 100,000 or so that voted for the NTA, consequential of the August 10th last year local government elections, as sympathizers or supporters or empathizers of the NTA. No, that's a misnomer. That is living in a fool's paradise. It was the UNC votes that created that number. And while strictly speaking, he can manipulate and use it because it exists. The number exists. But when we extrapolate, when we look and analyze at the granular level, you would see that those votes are mainly UNC votes. All we have to do in our next contest, if he continues and wants to play the ass, is to tell every single voter in these constituencies that would be contesting along with the UNC, but from NTA perspective, not a damn vote for them. And therefore, he would have sealed not a damn seat for them. Because at any rate, they won't get any seat, no matter where they go. That is a given. But because you want to generate a spoiler so that the UNC will not get the 27 seats that we are projecting the UNC to get and counting, I say to anybody who wants to interfere with that, hold your tail. But if you want to come and support by way of an accommodation, as the case may be, under the terms and conditions of the UNC. Let us not waste time with that. Under the terms of the UNC. If you know how glad I will be, because I have not yet made the overture, but I will be doing so. Writing to, of course, the political leader of the UNC, she has indicated that after the local government elections, she will be looking at these matters. No, the internal elections, in fact, that came later after, of course, the local government elections. She'll be looking at these matters. I would put pen to paper and write it to the political leader asking for some kind of arrangement as far as the Laventils and Port of Spain South is concerned. I would want to do that. I would want to find the money, the resources, to put in the candidates if necessary, and to contest under Love, Laventil Outreach for Vertical Enrichment, a registered political party whose, of course, a symbol is, of course, the rocket. The sky is the limit. I'm prepared to do that if the UNC is so minded. And I know with such an arrangement, I will get the UNC voters, and I will get those who may be struggling or whom prefer to not vote, may decide to vote. And so we have a revolution in these three constituencies against the PNM. We did it before in 2007. The success, of course, was not realized as expected, but there are a number of other factors that over time I will be, of course, expressing so that you have a better understanding as to the winnability of that seat outside of the PNM, against the PNM, without the PNM. So, people, I thought that was important to share with you that the question of racism and the hating of Indians seem to have been fermented. The genesis of it, the initiation of it, the alpha of it is within the PNM itself after the death of Eric Williams. That is the conclusion any analytical person will now have to look at. And I share that with you for your own independent, not just research, but analysis. But I will do my research as well. And therefore we know where that came from and how Rowley and Manning has been able to utilize that for electoral advancement unmeritoriously. Unmeritorious is, of course, the operating word. That being as it may, of course, the time is 9:52, people. I wanted to talk a little more, but of course, on other matters, but time is upon us. I don't want to, as my son would say, don't initiate a brain freeze. But of course, he says that when he drinks things very, very cold. But of course, the brain freeze, in the broader sense of the word, I mean that people, of course, may have a little too much to assimilate, to rationalize, and to absorb. So I will terminate there. But I want to commend that caller from the United States for telling us the breaking news coming out of the United States in terms of the Venezuelan situation and the seizure of that presidential aircraft. And of course, we are going to be on the lookout, and I expect that I will get some calls, whether Dr. Rowley, whether clandestinely, whether incognito, would have gone in tonight's concert, the climax. And he, of course, having left Trinidad and Tobago, and having, of course, said that he was going to leave for independence, knowing all what is taking place in New York there, I will not be surprised if he is seen in one of them. Of course, he'll come back here and say that he was there because the checkups were finished, etc., etc. But we would know. We could draw a firm conclusion, and rest your bottom dollar, we are never wrong. When coming to this man, he's so predictable that he would have gone there at our expense to have a frolic, to have fun, and leaving, of course, Trinidad and Tobago in the quagmire and the desperation that we are in, consequential of maladministration, criminal behavior, conduct in public office. That being as it may, people, have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. See you tomorrow morning on the ground report, Andy, Mikey, and myself. And don't forget, share. And of course, we are still short with respect to our book drive, back to school book drive. And today we got, of course, some calls, and I was very pleased with it. My assistant, very efficacious, very committed. And she has been, of course, making the rounds by making calls to persons who may be able to assist. But if you can do so voluntarily. Call the number 336-6594. 336-6594. You can do that now if you believe that you'll be too busy tomorrow or that you may forget. Well, you could do it now if you have your telephone close to you. She is on standby. Of course, we continue these and other topics tomorrow. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. Yes, indeed. Or you could call my number if you want to talk to me directly on that matter. You could call me directly. I will be too pleased, even after the program, to accommodate you. 337-6940. If you prefer to call me, then I have no difficulty with that. But let's take a look at this ugly man when he talked about, of course, you judge for yourself.
I want to invoke the doctor and then write him a letter. I want to ask him a question. If he knew what was going on, the other day I was passing. I hear people complaining. He is the man with the answer, but he quite over yonder. They say, stay in the Balizé. Stay in the Balizé.
This is Caribbean Vibes.
Stay in the Balizé. And they biting hard. Stay in the Balizé. I'm sorry for Trinidad. In the country, man, they worse than Mappy feet. When they're making the racket, they just dress up in nice jacket. Some big fat mackerel, drink out the oil in the oil well.
Begging the master, give me a walk with Peter. If I come sinners coming, with them I go be dealing. Because the things that they do me, I want to fix them personally. Peter wait, Peter look Cecil Rhodes by the gate. Money. Peter look the Englishman, we send Cecil Rhodes to Africa land. Money.
I have a political cemetery. It's not for people like you and me. It is for all them politicians. And I dig in their grave, no fuck with me hand. I find some of them, they living too long. And every 5 years is the same old song. Some of them dead, just shame to lie down. So I prepare for them a burial ground. Rowley, my first grave for he. With joy in my heart, put him down with Lee. All of them useless politicians, only making up numbers in my island. I don't care all who go vex with me, but Kamala I not ready to bury. She is a strong, determined woman like me, and deserve a chance to run this country. When she in power, I don't go hungry. And Calypsonian does get big money. She don't deserve no spot in my cemetery. I put in she in the center of the city. but Kamala I not ready to bury. She is a strong, determined woman like me and deserve a chance to run this country. When she in power, I don't go hungry. And Calypsonian does get big money. She don't deserve no spot in my cemetery. I putting she in the center of the city. I don't care all who go vex with me, but Kamala I not ready to bury. She is a strong, determined woman like me and deserve a chance to run this country. When she in power, I don't go hungry. And Calypsonian does get big money. She don't deserve no spot in my cemetery. I putting she in the center of the city.